And now I have really great pleasure to introduce Steve Davis, who is the CEO of Aperto Guest Technologies. Steve, I'd love it if you could just say a couple of words about Aperto, and then we'd love to hear your presentation, which is on Front Desk 2.0, elevating the guest experience. So thank you. Over to you, Steve.
Good morning. I know that it's the afternoon in Europe. It's nice and early here in Vancouver, Canada. So Aperto, we're an industry leader in property automation solutions, primarily in room, but we've been around for 5 years. We do everything from sort of short term all the way through to hotel, large hotel chains as well. And we help people make technology simple and usable and accessible, and also build systems which just work. So yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you guys about Front Desk 2.0 this morning.
How about Steve, you tell us a little bit more about Aperto and Aperto Connect, because you've just launched Aperto Connect.
Yeah, so basically what we've done is we've looked at the technology gap in the hotel space in a bit more of a holistic view, and trying to understand how we can actually get technology to work more just beyond, this is a device and this is what it does. And what we're trying to really do is build an ecosystem whereby we can connect the guest experience to obviously the technology which is running, but then also the operational side of the hotel. So helping hoteliers more efficient premise, whether that's the housekeeping folks, whether that is anyone that comes into any operational capacity. So it's really about cost savings and just running a more efficient process. So we've built Aperto Connect to fill that void, and we're super excited that we've just launched it into the market in the last couple of days, and the response has been huge. I mean, it's clearly a question that people have, and we're excited to bring more people on as we go. So
brilliant, thank you. And Front Desk 2.0, it's a really great title. Talk to me, what does it mean? And I'm sure your presentation will be about that, but give us a little snippet before your presentation.
For sure. So Front Desk 2.0 really is looking at, what is the evolution of the traditional front desk. So if you think about the front desk, there you go. I can just sort of talk to the presentation. So really what I wanted to talk to everyone today about was the notion of Front Desk 2.0. And 2.0 is a complete reimagination of what is possible for a guest when they arrive at your hotel. So if you just want to advance to the next slide. If you think about the way that we look at the front desk today, it hasn't really changed a whole lot since the advent of the hotel. So if you look at sort of the 1920s, 1930s, we've seen a complete lack of any shift in the way that people interact with the front desk, literally over the last 100 years. And if you look at the way that people now are interacting with technology and sort of the concerns, we all actually embrace a lot more touchless and contactless technology than we know about. So if you think about the way that you buy tickets to a football game or to a concert, or the way that you walk into the Apple store and buy a new laptop or a new iPhone, what we need to see, or what I believe that we're going to see, is there's going to be sort of a shift in the front desk at the hotel is one of the sort of last remaining vestiges of the way things used to be. And I think that with the implementation of smart technology, we're going to be able to put some really interesting scenarios together whereby the guests can access technology, they can interact with it in a very meaningful way, and it also allows the hotel to provide a more bespoke guest experience as well. So if we look at the way that we interact with technology, I think that we can all agree that whether it's flying in an airplane or buying tickets to a concert, or looking at the way that you buy technology, surely there's got to be a better version of the way that we're doing it. So next slide, please. So if you look at the way that COVID's really obviously accelerated a lot of our understanding of technology and what it's sort of the meaning it can play in our everyday lives, but also it's really allowed us to understand that when you are at a hotel, there's a lot more physical touch points than you're actually probably aware of. And I think everyone is obviously very, very cognizant of the fact that they want to have that control. They want to be able to interact. They want to be able to know that they're safe at all times, especially when they're coming into a hotel. So next slide, please. So for the last few years, what we've seen is there's been a real move, or the talking word has really been around seamless. So what's a seamless technology look like? How do you control the guest journey from before the stay, during the stay, and after the stay, and really making that sort of effortless? And what we're finding now is that, that word seamless, is that really the right word? It's actually, with COVID, it's kind of changed now to contactless. So hit the next slide, please. So really what we've seen is there's just been this shift, and it's not about, seamless is nice. I think it's really nice to feel as a guest that, from the time you make your booking online to the time you leave the property and leave your review, that there is that sort of bespoke experience. But really what the modern traveler is now looking for is, that's great, but is it contactless as well? So next slide, please. So as we all sort of return to some semblance of normal, whether you're here in Canada or whether you're over in the UK, Europe, or anywhere in the world, I think we can all agree, and there's been enough surveys out there and studies done that really safety is a primary concern now of all travelers. And so I think the race is now on to address, how can we actually help to allay those fears. Next slide. And so now contactless technology, instead of sort of being a nice to have, is now really a priority. It's almost becoming table stakes in terms of where the industry is going. And I know that there's a lot of buzz around it. Next slide. So if we look at I was looking at an article yesterday on MSNBC, and this was a quote that was on there, and it said, UK flight and holiday home bookings skyrocket 600%. And after Boris Johnson came out and gave the roadmap out of the lockdown. Next slide. All I could think about in my head was, oh my goodness, I wonder how many hotels are actually still going to look like some version of this. And where you've got the check-in, you're lining up, and maybe we've all now got masks on, but really, is that the ideal situation? Well, it's not, especially if you're primarily concerned with traveler safety. Next slide. The nice thing for us is we've done a bunch of hotels, and this is one of the ones we're probably the most proud of, is the Annex Hotel in Toronto. This is the front desk. When you walk in, it is immaculate, it is minimalistic, and if you read the quote on the bottom, the idea behind it is it's efficient, it just works. You walk in, you can order a drink at the bar, bring you food, you can check in while you're sort of being made comfortable, and it's just completely different, and that really kind of sets the bar for where everyone is kind of looking to go now. But it's really a question about how you do it. Next slide. So there's the technology, and I think that, Jessica, we've talked about this before around like technology for technology's sake, and I think that there's a place for technology, but then there's also that digital ingenuity also needs to get met halfway with the human touch and the human experience. And I think, on my previous slide, that was what I was trying to talk about, was that the experience that technology brings forward is such a positive one, but because they've done it right. Next slide, please. So really what we're looking at from the front desk perspective is it's moving from a transactional place of, here's my credit card, here's my passport, to one that is an experiential one. So yeah, maybe there is some sort of transactional element, but really what you're looking to do is have those employees redeployed in a way that they can be almost more like greeters or people who welcome you to the property, make you aware of all the amenities, really go that extra mile for the customer to make them feel safe, welcome, and sort of learn about their stay before it even starts. Next slide. So at Aperto, what we're doing is we're actually building technology that really is trying to deliver this memorable, seamless, and contactless experience. Because really, what we're trying to do for the guest is build that bespoke feeling around the stay, while also helping the manager or the owner to really drive as much operational efficiency into their business as possible. So for us, it's about connection, and that's what does technology unlock? Well, it really is a connection tool. So it's between the guest, the manager, or the operator, and then any of the ancillary service providers that are involved in the property. And it's how do you wrap all of those things into a single operating system, which allows for that fluid transfer of information, that fluid exchanging of ideas, that more fluid stay, and that more, again, bespoke feeling that the guests will have when they leave the property. Next slide. So what we've done here, and this is really around the front desk and sort of this replacement notion, or the reimagining of the notion of the front desk, is how do we build this triangle, which is really the connection points between the guests and the owner, who is obviously worried about management and monetization opportunities and the other pieces that go along with sort of being an operator, and then the teams. So whether you're housekeeping or you're in the maintenance team, or anyone else that is sort of involved in any piece of a hotel delivering on its value to the customer, for us, it's really about, okay, well, how do we tie all that into a very natural, easy ecosystem that people can be in touch with each other through a safe, contactless environment, but also allow them that level of customization that customers are looking for now, that they really want to feel that they're not just another customer checking in, checking out, and it's not transactional, that it's actually special. And then for us, and you'll notice that I put as the fourth point, the technology, because the technology is really meant to just work. And for us, we always put technology in the background because it's about, the technology should just work. It should work seamlessly. And whether that's keyless entry or temperature control settings in your room, or noise and occupancy, or whatever it might be. So there's a whole bunch of technologies that work. And what we do is we help our customers to identify which are the best technologies that you can actually use in your property. Next slide, please. So on the guest side, again, you're looking at the safe check-in journey. So whether you're in your Uber on the way from the hotel, or from the airport to the hotel, that you can check in, you can pick your room, you can get your access code, you can upload any documentation that the owner might need, whether that's passport verification or whatever. Highlighting some of the amenities. So before you even arrive at the property, you know that there's a spa, you know what the specials are at the hotel bar or the hotel restaurant. And any of the local activities, whether that's renting a bike or catching the tube or going on a sightseeing bus, it's wrapping all those things into a very easy to find portal, sort of replacing the hotel book that we sometimes see in some of the more old school hotels, but really putting that at the fingertips of the guests as well. Next slide. And then on the other side, you obviously have operations. So housekeeping, maintenance, portals which are actually designed to allow the guest to say, hey, you know what, next time you clean my room, would you mind leaving me a couple extra towels, maybe an extra bottle of shampoo? And also for the guest to know, okay, well, this is, I know when the cleaner's in my room, so that I'm not going to come back from the pool when the cleaning team is inside my room. I'm going to wait because I know I've been notified that they're inside my room. They can also send me a notification when they leave my room, and I can leave them a digital tip and all the rest of it. So again, sort of that connection between teams and guests, and then obviously that feeds into an ownership cycle as well. Next slide, please. So really for us, this notion of reinventing the front desk, the guest journey, the in-stay for the guests is about delivering delight. And for us, it's not about the technology, and it's not really about the software. It's about when you get that balance right, where the hardware works, the software works, and the experience when you combine them, that's really what creates that wow moment for the guests, that delight that we were looking for as a company. Next slide. So if you look at some of the bigger brands, I mean, this is very topical, all the way down from sort of the smaller boutique hotels all the way through to the big ones, and they're saying, the replacement or the reimagining of the front desk, there's always going to be a need for a front desk in some fashion. That's not seeing that there's going to be 7 cubicles with 7 different people working at it. There might be 1 or 2, but really what that means is that it frees up a lot of resources to have those roaming hosts who can, welcome the customer, make sure that they're familiar with the property, make them really feel like when they come into the hotel that they've arrived home, and it's really creating those experiences that is going to help put the mind at ease of the sort of COVID 2.0 traveler who's looking for that, that experience, but also the ability, if they want to not have to have a human interaction, that they can actually check in and go straight to their room and not be bothered as well. So it allows people to sort of have that choice as well. Next slide. So how do you implement it? I won't take too much time on this one because I know we're running late, but it's really important that when you're thinking about technology, that you're really going, okay, there's tons of tech out there. You can run off to the store today and buy a whole bunch, try and connect it all together, but is that the right ecosystem that you're actually trying to create? Next slide. So what you don't do is trying to ram a square peg into a round hole. We see this all the time where we're taking some of our customers and reinventing their technology roadmap because they've gone out, they've sort of, whoever appeared first on Google, they're just buying solutions and then trying to make it work. And that's not the right way to do it. Next slide. What we really want to see is, people following a path. And this is something that we do as Aperto is help our customers along this these 6 stages. So diagnose the problem. What actually are you trying to solve? What is the problem that is keeping you awake at night that actually your customers, you verified with your customers that this is the solution that's the best solution for you? Securing early buy-in, and this is obviously the politicking that goes on inside of any organization. So making sure that your the internal stakeholders who are going to be involved in this technology rollout are involved from the beginning, whether that's marketing, sales, IT, operations. It doesn't matter. Everyone's going to get affected or need to be involved to make sure that this thing runs smoothly. And that really kind of blends into the next point, is assemble your technology squad. So for us, we always ask our customers to provide us with an internal implementation team. So who are those people who are going to drive the bus once we put the technology in the building and it's operational and it's working? That's only half the battle. It's really the usage and making sure that that everyone is up to speed on what's all rolling out and what the expectations are. The next thing is just mapping out the customer journey, again, from the time that they book with the OTA or they book online, wherever, all the way through to the time that they're leaving that review or they're thinking about a rebook. Map out that customer journey and figure out where are the different technology touch points. And the front desk is one of the most major moments when a customer arrives. It's that first impression of the hotel. So we spend an inordinate amount of time understanding what that looks like. Training speaks for itself. Tech forward thinking requires lots of technology training. So making sure you get trained, and then setting your benchmarks. So what does actual success look like? How can we make sure that we're doing this in the right way and we're getting the results we're looking for? Next slide. So I just sort of wrapping up now. Launch it, fine tune it, and expect hiccups with anything, especially when you're talking about those fine interactions that happen at the front desk or in room. It's really important to understand that there will be hiccups when you roll out the technology. So I think that speaks to my next slide, which is really, pick a great partner. And that's why we love the work that we do. We have a solutioning team who does this all day, every day, really understanding with the customer, what are they looking to do? How can we do it? And sometimes, to be honest, that's not necessarily our own solutions. We might bring in a partner who provides a better solution, or we will assemble a group of providers that will create that ultimate solution for the customer. So because the partner, at the end of the day, you will need them. It's super important. Next slide. So if you think this is interesting and you're looking to jump that technology gap, please do feel free to get in touch. I'd like to offer anyone the first couple months on the house. We're taking on new customers all the time. A lot of curiosity out there, and we'd love to meet you and to talk about Front Desk 2.0. And I think that's it. So thanks, everyone.
Really great presentation. And, I'm just going to ask a couple of questions because we've had a couple from the audience as well. But one thing I just, that you talked about, is so sort of transformational, is that those interactions, what are transactional interactions becoming experiences and becoming opportunities to be transactions of service and also revenue opportunities and providing better guest experiences. It's really interesting that.
Absolutely. I think that one of the major challenges for any hotel is to make the customer aware of all the different things that they can do on site, or all the different partners that they have that provide experiences. So how do you actually get that information into the hands of the customer? Well, you don't really do it through a hotel book or a hotel binder, because no one reads it, and no one wants to touch it anymore. So it's really about arming your staff with the information, and really that, like, how do you make them switch from a transactional job to an experiential job? And that's a jump for sure. But it's about knowledge sharing, it's about training, it's about all the rest of it. And again, it's really about training them up on the technology, because this ecosystem that we set up for our customers only works as well as the input and the actual feedback from the staff goes.
Thank you. And just, does it mean now that every hotelier needs like tons of tech in order to run their business? Or is there a sort of a bit of less is more? And then we've actually had a question in the chat that says, it's notoriously difficult to integrate third parties. How is Aperto dealing with that?
Yeah, really good question. So, I actually started my career at Apple, and one of the main operating mantras is like literally less is more, like simplicity, because technology is really supposed to unlock opportunity. It's not meant to unlock more headaches. And I think that some of the hesitation for operators to move to a tech-enabled property is that, what if it all breaks down? Like, there's all these things that are talking to each other. There's all these things that can go wrong. And so for us, whenever we approach it in a consultative sort of way, we'll say, okay, we actually want to put this solution in with the fewest number of technical touch points that can actually break down. So for us, less is more. It's not about shoving as much IoT into the roof, into the walls, into the hallways as you can, because that doesn't really add experience. It doesn't really add to the guest experience at all. If anything, it sort of detracts from it. So less is more, but when you go with that sort of minimalistic approach, you have to know what you're doing. And at that point, that's when you want to talk to the likes of an Aperto, that we can explain all of the options to you, and that we can put you in the best position to succeed.
Brilliant, Steve. Thank you very much.